Hello, and welcome to our first coffee chat of the spring 26 semester. Thank you all so much for being with us today. We have a really fun topic that I am excited to share with you all. We are going to be learning all about our new Gymnastics Performance Center, its sustainability features, and hear from two members of our women's gymnastics team. So we will go ahead and introduce our speakers, and then we will get going. All right, so we have Lauren Pearl, who is a current women's gymnast. We have Mya Hooten, who is a previous women's gymnast and a current assistant head coach. And then we have Jeff, who is a senior associate AD and does a lot of work with our facilities and operations and events in Gopher Athletics. So with that, we will turn it over to our speakers. Jeff is going to get started with some context on the facility and its amazing sustainability features, and then we will turn it over to Lauren and Mya.
Just want to highlight that quick. Let me just show this quick here. Carly, can you allow sharing here quick?
Oh, yes, I popped over to the website, but
Okay, there it is. There
I
it's
will
going.
allow you if you want
No,
to, so you can kind
we're
of
good.
navigate yourself.
Show that, hey, working with our sustainability partners on campus, we've really developed finally after many years of doing some great things in this realm, our own sustainability page off of the facilities and events area. So if you go to athletics tab up top, and then you can work your way down and look at that. And again, we got our mission statement. Again, newly evolving mission statement to innovate and evolve, set achievable goals while collaborating with campus-wide sustainability strategies. And I'll start out with there. Again, I'm a facilities operations background. We work with our sustainability unit on campus with their guidance, both their climate action and resilience plans, and try to implement those things when possible in Gopher Athletics, both in our daily operations and with our projects. So we rely and lean on our resources as much as we can for those great staff and their insights on campus. So, but we also know that again we can also inspire the community and make an impact on the environment through the leadership of our actions in regards to our sustainability practices. And we don't talk about it enough. We've done some great things. At a variety of facilities, from even our old Williams and Pavilion Arena, doing some things there with energy efficiency and things over the years. And if you go into the facility details on your own, you can click on, hit those, expand those out, and get some cool facts and figures from thing. Huntington Bank Stadium is kind of our poster child. It's was LEEDs Silver certified for construction in 2009. It was the first collegiate stadium to be LEEDs certified silver. And now, of course, all the college stadiums and certainly all the pro stadiums are, platinum level, and that's the new standard, right? But we're excited to be a part of that, and all the things that we've done with the various areas of sustainability. So we'll let you kind of dig on that on your own and look at all the great things we've done with that facility and others, including the gymnastics facility. You'll have more details of that if you would scroll down and hit those in the future. So just to frame up a little bit more on gymnastics before we get into the specifics with that, again, um, I really don't know how long everyone was training at Pike Gym. It's 70 years, 80 years, I don't know. It's a long time, and old building, right? And people say, well, why now? Why build a new facility and all that? And so I grabbed just a couple photos. This obviously you can't do justice to that, but did a couple photos and just trying to try to show the history of what we did here. But we've been looking at a new gymnastics practice facility at least 10 years plus, right? And it took a long time. It was a journey, right? Um, at Huntington Bank Stadium in 2017, we actually looked at some shelled out space on the northeast side to build a combined men's and women's gymnastics practice facility. There was too many support foundational things underneath the ground to dig the pits. There was some challenges with the overhead to do that there, right? So that one didn't work out. We just wasn't able to make it work for space and size to make it safe. 2019, there was another looking at Cook Hall and how could we look at expanding that third floor of Cook Hall where there's a lot of badminton and volleyball for recreational wellness activities. Now, again, Rec Well wasn't excited about that, and it really didn't meet the needs of us for in terms of some of the space requirements and safety requirements for that too. So that one kind of went down the way. 2022, we did a more widespread study and looked at various areas that we could remodel facilities on campus and look at different things, including Pike Gym. And then that was, when we really got the determination from campus that, hey, Pike Gym's on the DNI list, do not invest list. So even if we wanted to put, millions of dollars in it to remodel, they said, hey, it just wasn't, the cost benefit wasn't there. Obviously, there was no AC in that facility. This is an exception sport where they train year round. They train in the summer with coaches for safety and for development, right? And they got the doors open and fans blowing, and it's sweltering hot in there in July and August. So other hazmat issues in there and just insufficient space to try to really remodel that just wasn't cost effective to do that. So we got the word from that was an option. So in 2023, we really honed in on the Athletes Village facility location. One of the benefits of that is, there's obviously this great new training facility, but all the ancillary spaces that Gopher Athletics teams use are there, including the gymnast. So you got your nutrition next door, you got the head coach's offices and assistant coach's offices next door, you got your strength and conditioning next door, you got your main athletic training facilities next door, academics, sports psychology, everything is in that Athletes Village. So for us to build or remodel another facility somewhere else on farther away on the East Bank or worse, maybe St. Paul campus or trying to find space here in a landlocked, Twin Cities campus just really wasn't the greatest thing to do. So we really honed in on the Athletes Village site to make that work. And that had a lot of benefits for all those ancillary spaces that you didn't have to replicate in design and construction. So as far as the goals, and we'll get into the specific sustainability goals as well, but I look back at when we met with the coaches on what were the vision and goals of success. Capital planning always does that when we meet with them. They wanted a contemporary training facility. They obviously wanted to highlight the pride of women's gymnastics and the history of that. They wanted to have a high level of design and operational efficiency. Obviously, sustainability, energy efficiency was a big part of that discussion, and we'll talk more about that in a second, certainly. We wanted to be on budget. We wanted to fit visually within the Athletes Village footprint, which I think once we look at some other photos here, you'll see how it just fits in with the other design and elements of that Athletes Village area. And then obviously have a recruiting impact, whether it's the training space being more efficient and safe, having that wow factor when you walk in, visuals and branding. Those were core elements of what the goals were for this project. And I think, we're excited that we hit those. So we'll let Lauren and Mya kind of expound whether we hit that or not, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. One thing that was unique is that this was a facility, and I think Athletes Village was certainly a part of that as well, but this was a B3 building requirement facility. So B3 is a guideline. It's called Buildings, Benchmarks, and Beyond. It's a comprehensive set of sustainability and performance standards for both new and substantially renovated buildings in Minnesota. And I think University of Minnesota applies that a little bit more than maybe other areas. And we really try to do that in a lot of ours, especially our capital projects. So it's a guide work through design, construction, and the operational phases of the building. Focusing on sustainability design, site, water, energy, indoor environment, and materials and waste. And so it's a performance standard of energy standards that are progressively stricter. And in fact, now, as of 2025, at that baseline, you have to have a reduction of 90% less energy and carbon footprint versus a 2003 baseline. So that gets harder and harder to do. And a lot of projects on campus are turning to solar panels as a cost-effective and feasible renewable energy source to help address that and meet those design criteria. So we'll talk a little bit more on when we go through that, but that was a unique process to meet that a lot of people don't think about when you're doing these projects here on campus. All right, on to Gymnastics Performance Center. So energy, the rooftop solar array up there, it does 95 kW and produces enough energy to power 11 homes. So that's kind of a fun fact. And again, the design standards that we face were 80% less energy, similar to a facility built in 2003. So again, we want it. we want to provide AC, which we didn't even have in Pike Gym, but we want to provide it efficiently. We want to have it be able to heat. They obviously for the pavilion, both the competitions and practice, they like it a little bit warmer than some of our other facilities, for training, right? So we want to provide that capability for the athletes to have that proper temperatures both in the different seasons, but also do it energy efficient. So that was a goal of the project, and obviously a goal we had to meet for B3 standards. Um, stormwater, it's a pretty small footprint around the facility, but the overall Athletes Village stormwater collection filters and uses stormwater to help the cooling tower. And that system collects 1.5 million gallons of water per year. So, and we'll look at a picture later, but the indoor football complex that's next to it, the rain that comes off that roof and goes into the ground, it goes into a collection cistern that's underneath the indoor football field. Also, the outdoor track has a collection system in the track infield that collects stormwater on the runoff of the hard surface of the track surface. And that all gets collected and goes back to the main energy plant within Athletes Village and then helps with that cooling tower water. So we pretty much have enough water that's collected that can be used to do our basic cooling tower for the entire year. So waste minimization was done both with the construction process, right? That's the whole part of like, it's not just being good after, but during the construction process, trying to, use non-hazardous materials, try to use recycled stuff. A lot of things come packaged in wood when they come from off semis into the construction site. Well, how do you break down that wood, keep it separate, and can you utilize it in another project or in one of the Mortensen's yards, for instance, for just general use for blocking and things like that. So they try to recycle a lot of the materials instead of just throw it all in one big dumpster. They have separate dumpsters. That was a big part of it. Then ongoing waste minimization, obviously in the whole Athletes Village, we try to look at our waste diversion, right? Just like the rest of the campus, and do our zero waste initiatives as best as possible with composting and recycling. Construction design materials, again, talks about the products that were selected and all the high environmental standards, the low VOCs and things like that were utilized in this project. And then I guess one of the biggest things, and you'll see as we move on to the next thing, is the large translucent windows provide great daylighting, but they also retain the heat in the winter. So that was a huge design element for this project. Compared to Pike Gym, you're putting the natural light to come in, and what's an important, cool thing for energy saving is the lights. I don't know if Lauren, and Maya actually understand this, but like the lights dim in there when it's bright and sunny in the daytime because you got the natural lighting come out there, and then obviously as you get to 4:30, 5 o'clock this time of year, those lights will increase in there naturally, so that you maintain the same amount of foot candles. So kind of a great energy savings, but you get that natural daylighting. And then the translucent windows, obviously, you're not blinding the vultures as they're running down looking towards the east as the sun's coming up in the morning. They practice in the morning. So kind of a great design element, I think, that's pretty impressive that probably the gymnasts really benefit from. All right, next slide. All right, so this kind of is good overall footprint of the new facility with the solar panels on top. You got the native plants down below for stormwater collection. So you try to minimize. You already have parking lots around there in the 16th Avenue street that cuts through, so you want to minimize, the hardscape runoff area. That's that indoor football practice facility that I talked about. That's the only reason I mentioned that is just it's important how that the overall facility Athletes Village works in together with the sustainability feature, the stormwater, as that stormwater comes off that and goes underneath the collection facility underneath that indoor football field and then goes over to the energy plant. All right, here we go. Here's a great photo of the in there with that natural light, those translucent windows to provide the natural light to come in, bright and inviting. There's also purposefully some windows at ground level that are not translucent to have a connection both to the athletes to the outside, so they're not just cooped up inside, but also, to allow passerbys and other athletes and coaches walking by just to kind of peer in and have a sense of what's going on in there and see the great facility from afar. There's another angle again of the the thing we'll talk. I think one of the key things of this facility versus Pike, and again, Lauren Mike can expand on this, is Pike was so cramped and tight. I think you had one foam pit, and now here you have all the events have a foam pit, right? So you can go on balance beam, you can start learning in the summer your new skill or technique, and going into the foam pit. Then you have the big resi mats that you can transition to that, and then finally to the landing mat as you're getting ready, as you progress in your learning of your new skill or your new start value or whatever. You guys can expound more on that technique, on that piece of it. But every one of the uneven bars, vault, floor, and balance beam all have that progression ability to do that. Also, the trampolines are in ground, the pits are in ground, so everything's all at a similar height, right? There's very minimal changes, whereas at Pike you had all sorts of different heights of floor things, and it was cramped with things going all over the place, so kind of a safety issue. So we both have more safety space and more space to do more things at once, so but more efficient training for the athletes both in season and out. Right. I guess it's, we talked a little bit more about our overall sustainability platform in athletics. Again, we're focusing primarily on gymnastics, but we've got some great things to share about all of our facilities, and encourage you to go to that website and or ask more questions at the tail end of this. So with that, I guess turn it over to Lauren and Mya.
Jeff, thank you so much. I know we're going to have some great questions here, but we are going to turn it over to our other speakers, and I promise we will have plenty of time for questions at the end. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, and Lauren and Mya, the floor will be yours.
Hello. First of all, that was really cool for us to see too and hear about. That was awesome. So thank you for that. I'm Lauren. I'm currently a fifth year on the team. I'm doing my master's right now in sports management, and I got my degree last year in kinesiology. So history on the team. I don't know. I've just been here for 5 years, and yeah. I'm Mya. I was on the team for 5 years and I graduated last May. And now I am the assistant coach, which I'm super grateful for. And we were in Pike for she's 1 year younger than me. So
Yeah.
I was in Pike for 4.5 years. So I got one semester in this beautiful gym. So I was super grateful for that. Because we were told that I was getting recruited as like
Mm.
a junior, and they were like, we're gonna get a new gym before you get here. And I'm like, yay. So it was so awesome to be able to have at least one semester in the gym. And then you were in Pike for 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years, yes.
And the difference between the two facilities is something we can't even put into words. We will show you guys pictures in a little, but to start off, I think just like Jeff was talking about, our location of being right here is like night and day. Before we were by like what? The bridge?
Qdoba,
Qdoba Bridge.
down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
kind of right there.
So it was
University.
sort of far away from like where we lift and all of that. So it's much more convenient to be in this location. And also just, I feel like we spend so much more time here with our locker room and all of that. So it's really just awesome to have.
And all the girls, they live super close. So it's literally a 2 minute walk. It used to be like a 8 minute, 7 minute walk for us to go to Pike, but now it's literally a 2 minute walk. So it makes their lives very easy.
Yes.
Carly, we did share some slides with you.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Let me grab those for you, and we will share. All right, awesome. Oh, there we go. My apologies, I didn't see that this morning. Okay. All right.
So we're going to show you guys like the differences between the two facilities. So this was our rehab area on Pike to the left, and you can tell it's very unorganized. It looks a little messy. We were limited on equipment really, and then compared to our new facility, we have so much more space,
and we have so many more things that we can use for rehab. We do rehab every single day. We have 4 rotations in a day, and we don't do all 4 events. We do mainly floor, beam, and bars we do every day, and then vaults and floor we separate each day just because we don't want them to have too much legs like in one day because it's hard on your body. But so we do, and then our 4th rotation, it's always an alternate rotation, and we always have rehab. So this was the difference between our 2 rehab stations.
You can also just see how much the chalk was building up onto all of the equipment in our old gym and something in our new gym. You can kind of see it a little bit um to the very right side of the picture in the new gym. We have these things called chalk eaters within our gym, and it sort of just like takes in all of the chalk that's sort of floating in the air. And that's been a big difference in keeping our facility so much nicer and so much like newer.
Yeah.
And we can really tell the difference with all of our equipment. And yeah. So moving on. Oh, I forgot.
Oh, we can't.
Are taping ankles and filling water bottles. So before in our old gym, we were pretty much put in
A storage room.
a
This to the right is where we would fill up our water bottles in that little Culligan water station right there. Yes.
and people would use that microwave as much as you may
People
not
would.
believe it
Yes.
to heat up our food if we ever had practice. And now in the new facility, you can just tell you don't even need an explanation really, but we have a nice ice
Machine.
right there, and yeah, it's just like night and day
It is.
comparison.
Yes, and it's very, very well organized now. In the old gym, it wasn't. There was a lot of chalk everywhere. We definitely needed some chalk eaters in that area, but it is way better. And our trainer really appreciates all the space now. She has her own little space that she stays in, so it's
Yeah.
very nice for her.
Yes.
This is our apparel room. So this is where we keep our jackets and our Leos. And to the left was Pike, so we had to go into the basement. And we usually do like an apparel review before season, and we bring up all of our clothes and we make sure everyone has everything they need for the season. And we appreciated this year that we didn't have to walk all the way downstairs and bring up like 20 jackets. We could just walk straight. It's all one level, so we could just walk straight into our storage room and grab all of our stuff. So that's one thing we actually really appreciated, just like the little things we appreciate. But now we have it all organized in one section for apparel.
Now, here is probably our favorite part about the whole gym, just as girls that love being together and all of that. So here's our locker room. To the right is our new one, and then I have a picture of our new locker compared to an old locker at Pike. As you can see, the top has like all our leotards in it, which is like really cool to have. I feel like we just keep everything so much more organized now. There's a lot more space for us to put our belongings in, and a lot of us like to decorate our lockers and just put fun quotes up there and stuff. The old locker room, which is not pictured, is the smell. It legit smelled like mold and built up not good stuff. I don't really know. It was really disgusting.
Sometimes we would have to turn on the showers in the Pike gym because it would smell so bad. So we'd have to turn on all the showers to like hot. So it would, I don't know what it was doing, but I guess
Yeah.
it tried to get the smell out of there. But sometimes we would walk down and we'd be like, Jenny, our head coach, would be like, Jenny, it really smells downstairs. So we really didn't hang out in our gym, our locker room at Pike, but the girls, they always hang out in here all the time,
Mhm.
all the time. But these lockers, you can flip up. You can see there's like kind of like a cushion, so they usually sit on there, or that flips up, and you can have there's storage bins, so you can put practice Leos or practice tanks. Everything is just so convenient in the locker room, which we had minimal space in the old gym in our locker room. Has
So this picture is literally Maya. She was doing a bar routine and the bar decided to break on her.
It broke. Yes, I landed safely.
But this just kind of shows how we're only talking about the luxuries of our gymnastics facility, but this is definitely one that's like just comes down to safety and overall like performance levels of gymnastics. So, of course,
Yes.
with recruiting, if you're gonna come watch a practice, imagine this happened when a recruit was there.
Yeah.
We're just lucky.
But this happened my senior year. No, last year, actually. Just last year. So I think it was time for a new gym. But I was doing giants around the bar and it just collapsed. And I was like, what just happened? I had no idea. And I turned around and the bars looked like that. So, but this compared to, and also the air conditioning in the summer, we would be like dripping sweat just doing bars. Like now they do bars and like it's air conditioned. We don't, they barely sweat really, unless we're
Yeah.
conditioning. But yes, no injury, no injury. But
Yeah. Also, you can see like we didn't have any windows there.
yeah,
There was one big fan on the ceiling in Pike, but it was
that was new. That was new.
yeah, and it didn't do like an insane amount
Yeah.
of stuff for us. So
One thing we definitely notice in the new gym are the windows, and they're super cool. We didn't even know that we are in it now, but like some of them, how Jeff was saying, they're translucent or
Yeah,
whatever they
yeah.
are. Yeah. So it's night and day how bright it is in here, and you walk into the gym and your energy, your mood is just so different when it's bright lights and just good lighting.
And your Florex wasn't even full Florex, right? In Pike, you didn't have a full.
It was, but if you went off the floor,
You
like
would hit a wall.
you would probably hit the
We
wall.
were right on the yeah. And we also had zero pits, so in the summer we couldn't really do upgrades or we'd have to just work what we know. So we couldn't like usually in the summer we play around and all these different things and we couldn't do that in this gym, but now we have pits on every event so we can work upgrades and do all these different drills that we never got to do. So that really helps us. And also, this new gym really helps recruiting. Being on the coaching side now, I can tell. I'm like, how did they get recruits in this gym? But this gym is helps us very much in the recruiting process. So yes. I think that's all.
So I think that's the end of your slides. Anything else, Laura and Maya, before we turn it over to some questions?
Not really. Those are the main things that we thought of.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for your perspective. These side-by-side photos were mind-blowing and incredible to see the upgrades. I'm so happy for you guys that you're in such a beautiful, safe space. That is awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and stop my share, and we have the remainder of our hour for discussion and questions. So no need to raise your hand. Please just unmute, and we will go ahead and get started.
Well, Lauren, Maya, I'll ask a question. My name is John Gardner, and I work in the sustainability office here at the Twin Cities campus. And so I'm just curious for prospective gymnasts coming in to visit. How like what do you guys all do in terms of like showing them around the facility? Can you walk us through a day visit and what that looks like?
Yes. So they usually arrive on, it's usually a weekend trip. And usually the girls will have practice. So then we give them a tour of the whole facility in here. But then we also give them a facility of all athletes village. Like we go into football facility, basketball, we go see baseball, volleyball. So we give them a tour of literally everything on campus. So we show them the locker rooms and then they try on some of the Leos and they have a little photo shoot. So that's fun for them.
We always try and bring them to all the sporting events too that are going on campus.
Yeah.
So those are also so fun for us to go to.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say just congratulations. I'm so happy for y'all.
Thank
Y'all,
you.
I got to meet Soraya the
Oh,
other day at a breakfast. thing, but so happy. And we were also talking about getting gymnastics to Africa, and um, yeah, that's one thing I'm passionate about. I mean, the girl I like is gymnast, so that's good motivation too. But yeah, I was wondering, so having this new facility, right? There's more motivation, people walking in, the light shining. I was wondering, is there more hope for you to host people like Suni Lee, like Simone Biles? Like, I do music, and hopefully we'll eventually be able to network with those people. Maybe eventually, we can get them to come to Minneapolis. But yeah, how is the network going with other like USA gymnasts, or is that there already? Yeah.
Well, I do feel like we could get like more high level recruits, like maybe Suni, if she wanted to come to University of Minnesota, she might be more likely to choose here just due to all the facilities. And a lot of those girls, they want to keep training to go to the Olympics, even though they were in college. So being able to train in a high level facility for those purposes as well, I think would be a big factor in determining whether like those high elite gymnasts want to come to this gym. So I do think it would help a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Sorry, just to clarify my question. I know Suni is already she's past the college level, I think, in terms of recruiting, but I was thinking like, you know how Steph Curry does basketball camps and stuff. Now that y'all have a nice facility, maybe you could have Suni do like camps, and then you could win more recruits, do more community building. I don't know, just an idea. Right?
That
I'm
would be
so
great.
happy.
Yeah.
So
We've never,
happy for that. Yeah.
thank you. We've never actually thought about like having like a guest coach or in our camps because we have 3 camps that we host in the summer. So, but we never really thought about that. So maybe we'll think about that. This
Okay.
gym definitely makes it better. She definitely would want to rather come in here
Yeah.
than at the old gym. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing music and maybe Hmong. So I'll let you know if I get to know Suni, and then
yeah, for
we
sure.
can, yeah.
How about that? Was it USA Junior Olympic camp that you had that one weekend? You guys might not have been involved, but we had that at the facility. I know Jenny
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
was excited to host that and have a facility that had the capability. So that was a good example, I think, of.
Yes. It was our Region 4 high performance camp. So Region 4 is like South Dakota, Iowa, North Dakota, Wisconsin, all of the states surrounding us. And we got to host it finally in this beautiful gym. And I got to coach a part of it. So it was super fun. And we've never gotten to do stuff like that. So we get to do things that we never thought we could ever do or host. So it's just awesome. And we're so grateful.
All right. I have a question. My name is Sam Schaefer. I am the Associate Director for Housing. New to the university, but spent a lot of time in facilities on the state of Minnesota side. My question is a little more, kind of towards the technical design and then probably a little follow-up on operations. So navigating the B3 requirements and frameworks for a new building can often cause conflict with the needs you have from an operations side. Us in housing deal with energy use and looking at ways to reduce energy use while at the same time maintaining, quality of life for our residents. We had instances in 17th, which Lauren and I, you may have lived in at one point as athletes. Most of our, freshmen or sophomores that are in housing live and our athletes live in that residence hall. But being our newest hall, we had a lot of like things like occupancy sensors, designed to kind of reduce energy use. But operationally, we had instances of people, taping over the sensors because they didn't want it recording if they're in their room, which it doesn't do. But and as a result, or people turning off their systems, or kind of, you could say like having a fan that's constantly moving, so it's always on. But kind of understanding that the realities of running the building don't always match up with those kind of B3 requirements. So I'm curious if there were any of those during the design process where you have these very stringent requirements for construction, but being a unique athletic facility, you probably have some very specific needs from how the building needs to run, right? And then, since occupation, if anything, any kind of decisions made during the design process have kind of come back and said, we were doing this, but now we've had to do this. So maybe Carly, Jeff, that's kind of more towards
Yeah.
yourselves.
I'll certainly defer a little bit to our sustainability partners that are on the call too, but I know that's always a challenge, right? Because like we mentioned, we want to make sure it's AC with lack of humidity in the summer, but we also want to have the proper heat, almost a little bit warmer than a lot of other workout spaces that we'd have, like the Bierman weight room wouldn't be as warm as this, for instance. So you got that kind of conflict, like how do you do that, but also make it energy efficient and meet those guidelines? And then energy management comes in on the checkout during the commissioning of the facility, and they obviously do all those measurements and make sure, hey, did the design meet the or does the actual construction meet the design criteria for the B3, right? And so I think, to be honest, they really were tweaking things, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months after the construction to make sure, number one, we met the B3 requirements, but also make sure they're functional for the occupants. So I don't have the specifics on all that, but I know you kind of get into that where you got to battle a little bit and kind of find that happy medium to make it functional for the end users in the end. So I don't know, John or Kate, if you got any insights in that and other projects for that one in specific, but we got the same thing, occupancy sensors, obviously, whether it's a football locker room or whatever, if there's only three athletes in there, you don't need 100% wide open air in the winter, bringing in cold air and then heating it up, right? Like you always have these exchanges of air that are required by code. So having those sensors are good so that the whole team is there right before or after practice and showering, and the showers are on, you can have that proper airflow and it can sense that, right? But if there's just 2 or 3 athletes there, they're just there in the morning or afternoon, just hanging out, you don't need that. So I think you want to rely on the technology that's available and those sensors that are available to then save the energy and do it and still have that creature comfort kind of capability. So kind of that's my experience as an end user, but I'd certainly look to see what anyone else has to say, like John or Kate, on that.
I'll just
Yeah,
jump in quick.
oh,
Sorry, John.
No, go ahead.
I'm Kate Nelson. I'm the Director of Sustainability at the Twin Cities. And unfortunately, our Trevor from Capital Project Management couldn't be here. He'd definitely be the one to jump in. And I know Joe Kreckler, I'm probably calling you out. You're here from energy management, but more on the efficiency side. So we have a large energy management team. I think just one point I want to say is this is why I had hoped we would invite a gymnast and a coach, because how you guys are interacting and feeling out the facility as it's new, as it's being commissioned, really matters. Like, how is it actually functioning for you? And the same point to you, Sam, is like, how is it actually working for the residents and what's going on? And Sam, I'd be happy to have any kind of follow-up that you would like, because housing has a unique function. I've been in higher ed sustainability for over 18 years, and I've seen a lot on that side. But I think there's probably not exactly the right people here to answer that question, but definitely a good one. And it just really speaks to what Jeff was saying with the constant commissioning and getting people in there and like getting feedback and continually improving a building and not just opening it and letting it run.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, prior to leaving the state, we're doing some interesting pilot programs, getting away from occupancy sensors and moving towards it was basically like a system that would pick up on like cell phones, and it would it could tell if a cell phone is in a certain area, and that's what it uses to identify how many people are in the space. So less visible than like the movement-based occupancy sensors. I think with the occupancy sensors, there's kind of that like paranoia because people don't know what they are or understand them. They just see like, oh, this light turns on every time I move. It's tracking my movements. We had to, like, when we finished the governor's residence last summer, we had to go in and have all these sensors removed because security, state patrol wanted them, but then the governor and their family go through the house and they're like, why are there all these things in all these rooms that are like sensing where we are at? So I think, technology is moving a bit as well to kind of simplify some of those things. Because, yeah, I mean, navigating that, the design is one thing, but actually hitting those B3 kind of benchmarks during occupation, I think, is the challenging point. But having that energy management team during the commissioning and even like 6, 12 months down the road to kind of do some follow-up is really valuable.
And whether it be athletes or student residents, the programming and education really, really matters in the follow-up. Again, why we want to have coffee chats and talk about these kind of things. I wanted to ask Lauren and Mya a question. Can you tell me more about how was your day-to-day life before, and how, and like in that, like how has this really, how have you noticed this in your training and your performance?
Well, I think first of all, we have like a whole team room on top of the locker room. And we can do a lot of our homework in there, and it's just a good area for us to come to. So I think a lot of that helps with our academics and stuff like that, which is great. And then in terms of like our actual practicing, I think our bodies just are loving this gym way more. I think with injuries and stuff, having different landing platforms to like do our skills onto has been awesome. I know our trainer appreciates all of the different types of floors that we can use coming back from injuries. I'm somebody that's dealt with a lot of like ankle injuries and coming back from them. This was the first year that I came back from one in this gym, if that makes sense. And I could definitely see the difference between coming back in Pike Gym versus this one. I could use the pits in this facility, which was so great. Um, the tumble track, we have like two tumble tracks now,
It's kind of like a
and
trampoline,
yeah.
and it's like long, so you can tumble on it.
Yes. So those were very nice. Yeah, I don't know. We're just so grateful to have this gym now.
Another thing is at Pike, we only had one set of bars, so we could only have like 4 people. Now we have 3, so now we can have many, like we have probably 5 or 6 people on an event, so that creates way more energy. And in Pike, it was hard because you only had 4 people and everyone was doing stuff. But now having more people on the event with you, it just creates more energy and just a positive environment for the girls, which that's something we really noticed being in this new gym.
Yes, and along with that, our training room, we spend so much time in there. And before we shared the training room with wrestling, track,
Rowing.
rowing, yeah.
Yep.
So a whole bunch of other sports, but now we just have our own training room space right inside of this gym. So you can imagine how much we use that area.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just so nice. And then showers. We have showers at this gym too. So if we're going with our busy schedules, we don't have to run home. We can just shower here, get ready for class here,
Yep.
or on the days that we travel to away trips, we just shower in this gym.
Yeah. And nobody really wanted to shower in the Pike gyms because they were smelly. So we really appreciate we have 3 really big showers in our bathrooms, which is super nice for the girls.
They had like old concrete
Thank
perches.
you.
Yeah.
It was concrete.
Art like they're gonna like hurt their foot or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. It's wonderful. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of hands up.
All right, we'll go to Joshua first and then Nicole.
Yeah, all right. Since I've already asked a question, she can go first, or I can. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a question. I know having this new elite facility makes a huge difference, I'm sure, for recruiting and for your guys' every day. Do you ever have students or recruits coming in and asking about the sustainability features of it? I know climate change is kind of a big thing for I feel old. So for the youth nowadays, is it just like obviously having this like facility makes a huge difference. But do you ever have recruits asking about those features?
We have not actually have had anyone ask about the features.
That girl wants to do a project.
Yes, a student actually reached out and she's doing a project on sustainability and wants to interview and come see the gym. So that'll be fun. But that's honestly the first I've heard and this. So
I do feel like with recruits, now that we're like matching the other schools, they almost
don't even realize like how amazing we have it now. So I don't even, yeah, I feel like in the old gym, they'd be more likely to ask those little questions of like, so do you guys use these showers? Whereas now I feel like they're like just taking it for granted, where we will never take it for granted.
I will say that's the thing we struggle with too, is how we get engagement both for our fans, right? Whether it's at Marriott's Arena or Huntington Bank Stadium, whatever, to, with the zero waste initiative and whatnot, to get them put things in the right bin and to engage, about these things and how we message that. We're always like, how can we get our athletes involved and help get them interested and or be a spokesperson for kind of those initiatives too. And it's kind of where I don't know if Lauren and I have ideas how we could better engage. I know we went to student the advisory, the SAC, committee once, and people kind of just like looked at us, or Brady was there, and people kind of just said, oh, kind of long faces. Really, that's what you're doing? So we're just trying to get the education out. But if there's a better way, we'd be interested in how we could connect with the athletes in general, not just recruits, but our current athletes. So we can talk about that more offline.
Yes. We will share this presentation with the team, so they'll appreciate that. They probably have no idea of all the awesome sustainability features. When we had a meeting with Carly, and we were like, whoa, we had no idea that all of these things were happening. So it's super cool. Somebody had a question in the chat, I think.
I think it actually ended up being the same question Nicole just asked, that you just answered, which is great. But I know we had a couple other hands up as well.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I'm just a question person, so if someone else has questions, feel free to go first. Don't want to take up too much time.
That's okay. Carry on. We like questions.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a teacher too, so I like to give 3, 2, 1. Okay, we give 3 seconds. So yeah, this is a question more sustainability in terms of funding. Obviously, this is a huge gift and going to be such a huge blessing to our athletes and hopefully the environment around the U as well. Yeah, I had a question for you, Miss Nelson. Yeah, in terms of sustainability, first, thank you so much for the work that you do. I mean, like animals are just straight dying all around the world, which is really sad. And like global warming is happening, and I think we know a lot of this world is run by money. So, I'm curious about the global movement now that like sustainability is becoming more popular. Is it getting easier to get funding for things that are sustainability backed? I guess follow up for you, Mr. Jeff. Like, did that help you being sustainable to get more funding with the U? I mean, obviously life is not about money, but like for us to get things done, it takes us having to work with money. So yeah, just curious how sustainability actually worked in maybe getting the grant for this or just overall process and things.
So I came here 3 years ago from UW Milwaukee, where I spent 15 years. And I would say, especially here, the history and the length and the depth of sustainability has been here for decades and building. So like when Jeff just briefly mentioned, we hit our first zero waste football game this year. That started like 17 years ago and building up. And I just really give that history a lot of credit. We've had a Board of Regents policy on sustainability for over 20 years. It's been built into several strategic plans, including Elevate Extraordinary. All 5 campuses have a climate action plan, which was originally part of MPAC 2025, and we are very active on it. John and I very much working on that implementation. There's champions for every strategy. There's just a depth and a breadth to it that I'll honestly say doesn't just depend on us, which is what makes it work. So, and actually right now with athletics, the funny thing is they've been doing a lot of great things and seeing energy efficiency, money savings across the board for years. And we're now just telling the story. We've really said, hey, you've got a story here. Let's start working on our communications. And actually that's leading into, this is a precursor. I shouldn't say anything out loud, but we want to launch an athletics ambassador program with student athletes and students working on different facets of what sustainability means to them, what it's like as an athlete, what it's like to be a patron, a guest at our events, and what you can do. This is a lot of partnership with our waste recovery services too. So it's like it started a while ago, it's building, there's plans, there's strategy. And besides a few federal grants recently that we did not get, but we actually did get some, we eked some in. I think a lot of this has never depended on, and I know you didn't say it exactly, but this has never been dependent on federal policy. It's been on doing the right thing, doing what our students want. Healthier living for sure is the goal all around Minnesota and the world. And then there's always energy savings and cost savings, and thinking long term will always bring that. If, you know, we're a university, we're rooted here, we're place-based. If we expect to be here in the next 20, 50, 100 years, we act like it. And that's a very refreshing thing. I find it across this university in many different ways.
You have that solar cap project that is about ready to kick off, right? And that was a big one. I don't know how the funding came about of that, but
It paid for itself. It pays for itself. Actually, solar is the cheapest electron you can put on the grid right now. And we're about to add, probably in about a month or so, we're going to be groundbreaking on 4 more megawatts of solar on campus. And I'm also working on larger partnership projects off campus, even with tribes and so forth. So there's a lot happening. Always go and check out our climate resilience and climate action
Yeah.
plan.
So you're working with the indigenous tribes, you said as well. That is
Mhm.
beautiful. That is very holy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of exciting things. There's a lot of support for that. I mean, we have an Office of Supplier Diversity that helps support actions like that. It's very, to me, I guess I would say, and many other people, the social aspects are very important as well. And like knowing how our people, how our gymnasts, how our students like live and breathe without dust in our facilities, like all those things really matter just as much as, because that's actually a bottom line, just in a different way. But really, like this all drives at our health.
yeah.
just follow up. We get billed our usage for our electricity, our steam, our gas, our water, sewer. You know, we spend about $4 million or so that we for all of our athletic facilities, not the gymnastics facility, all of them combined, right? And then we pay that back monthly to the university. So, you know, we certainly try to monitor that, and we work with energy management for where we can do cost effective things. We get grants sometimes, work with energy management at times. Other times, Xcel Energy will have things, you know, and even in this project, there were some Xcel Energy rebates that we were able to obtain. You know, 30,000, 40,000 total, not, you know, huge numbers in the end, but it all adds up, so to speak. And so we always are trying to look for opportunities for that. Other things are just doing the right thing, right? We spent, I don't know, $142,000 or something like that for new waste bins at Huntington Bank Stadium over the year, this last year, to try to have a better compost, recycling, trash kind of bin system that was more meeting than what we're trying to do at Huntington Bank. And whether that helped get us to the, you know, 91% for both the Farm Aid concert and the Michigan State football game, you know, that it's part product sourcing and changing behavior stuff too, and all things like that. But you just had to do the right thing and work it into your budget. It wasn't easy. So, but yeah, we always have tough choices, and they all can't be return on investments of, you know, 1 or 3 years even. And you got to look at it, what you're doing down the long run for the long play. So.
Great. Thank you so much. Follow-up question to the athletes. What would you enjoy for that? Like, would y'all like an Instagram page from Miss Kate? Like, she talked about the ambassador program. Like, Instagram page, or like what is a good way if you desire to be part of that?
Yeah, I feel like Instagram is the main social media app that everyone uses. So I feel like Instagram would be really fun. I agree.
Yeah, make it cute. Make it cute and they'll do it for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. This has been such a great discussion. Thank you so much to all three of our speakers. It's been really lovely to hear these different perspectives and to get, you know, an inside view of this beautiful facility that most of us, you know, throughout our work here at the U would probably not see, which is really wonderful. So I want to thank you guys. I want to very quickly promote our next two upcoming coffee chats. Hannah tossed the registration link in the chat, and I'm just very, very quickly going to share a, oops, if I can get to the right screen, very quickly share a slide with our upcoming chats, just so you guys are aware of what is coming up next. All right, here we are. So coming up in March, we have our very first in-person coffee chat we're excited about. And that will be on our new Campus Zero Waste plan. So we will hear from our folks over in Waste Recovery Services. And that will be over in the Recwell, one of their multi-purpose rooms, from 9:30 to 11 on March 18th. And then our April session will be all about that new on-campus solar that Kate just mentioned, the 4 megawatts coming to campus. And that will be on April 8th, 9 o'clock, and that one will be back on Zoom. So that QR code will go to our page, and then Hannah also tossed the link in the chat. So I just want to leave you with that. And thank you all so much for spending your morning with us.
Thanks for having
Thank you
us.
for having us.
Of course.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys.
Yes, y'all are amazing.
Bruno.
Wow.